Our scripture message this morning comes from Matthew 5, verses 1 through 12. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. And he began to speak and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. And blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." May God bless the reading and the hearing of this word.
Morning, everybody. Morning to you all on Facebook, too. This is kind of scary on my part, but I was commenting earlier, it's been like about 4 years since I've been able to be up here to preach, so please, I ask for some grace in that this morning. So by a show of hands, how many of us made New Year's resolutions? Anybody? Oh, we've got a few. Okay. So those of you who did, have you been able to keep the resolutions? I see some head nods and not some head nods. So, well, here we are. We're already 4 weeks into 2023. And some of us have either A, given up, didn't do the resolutions to begin with, including me, because we know we're just not going to keep them, and why even bother? But those resolutions are promises to ourselves to follow through on a course or a plan of action. And sometimes we feel pretty good when we succeed, right? We've got that goal in mind, and when we reach that goal, it's awesome. But when we don't reach that goal, we kind of feel like utter failures. For some of us, even the little ones, maybe making our bed every day is a good goal to reach. We've accomplished something. Maybe we set out that goal to maybe drink a little bit more water throughout the day to keep ourselves hydrated. And there are some, maybe it's a larger goal, like eating healthier, exercising more, or trying to focus more upon our mental health. Whatever the resolution or the goal that we may or may not have set, those goals require commitment and determination. But what is the ultimate goal that we're trying to reach here? It's transformation. It's a change. Turning away from our prior ways of being or doing or thinking, and turning towards renovating our thought process, renewing our efforts, and reviving our existence. Like Heather did in the children's time about Transformers. Transformers aren't a new thing. Back in, I think I looked up, it was like 1984. My brothers, who were much younger than they are now, they watched the Transformers animated series on TV, and these were robots, just like Heather was talking about, that came from another planet or galaxy, and they were searching for this energy source. And these robots, when they landed here on Earth, would be in the form of vehicles, like the semi-trucks that she was showing, or cars, or at the time of the 80s, a little cassette player with a little cassette tape inside. So my brothers, they had the toy versions, and they can move all the connecting parts around to make them into the vehicles or into the robots, and constantly doing that, constantly changing these toys into an alternate form. And it was interesting that during the title sequence of this animated series, they were transformers. They were more than meets the eye. Transformation, change, is something more than meets the eye, something more than just face value. And I think this phrase really fits Jesus that we meet in Matthew's gospel. Matthew's gospel was written during a time in the first century where there was a lot of dissension in the Jewish community. Some people wanted to follow the leaders and teachers who kept to the traditions that had been set forth hundreds of years prior. And then there were some, like the author of our gospel, who wanted to follow this up-and-coming teacher, this Jesus, who is reminiscent of Moses. If you read Exodus and if you read Matthew, you can see correlations between the two, because that's what Matthew's author was trying to do. He was trying to say, see, you have your history with Moses, but you've got this new thing with Jesus. He's full of wisdom, like Moses. This Jesus knows ancient history, and he knows recent events. He knows his Torah, his scripture, and he knows the right path that we're to follow. The text that Janet read today is from Jesus' first sermon in Matthew. There's 5 sermons in total that he gives, and we know this one as the Sermon on the Mount, this big, almost manifesto, so to speak. And this section that she read was oftentimes called the Beatitudes. So I'm going to take you back into chapter 4 to kind of set the stage of where we're getting into. Following Jesus' baptism, he's led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tested. He succeeds, and so he sets up his house in Capernaum. Then he hears about John the Baptist being arrested and decides to pick up where John left off in preaching, repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near. And then if he's not busy enough, Jesus calls his first disciples, his students, or as I like to call him, his posse. We have Simon, who's later called Peter, and his brother Andrew. And then the sons of thunder, the sons of Zebedee, James and John. I kind of liken them to like a tag team wrestling group. All of them perhaps were seeking something more than just fishing every day. Perhaps they were seeking a change, a transformation in their life, something more than meets the eye. So then we come to the end of the chapter in 23. Where Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness among the people. So his fame spread throughout all Syria, and they brought to him all the sick, those who were afflicted with every disease and pain, people possessed by demons or having epilepsy or afflicted with paralysis, and he cured them. And great crowds followed him from Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and from beyond the Jordan. Jesus is making a name for himself. He's healing everyone throughout the countryside. I would imagine today that his exploits might be splattered all over social media. He'd have millions or even billions of views on TikTok and would be considered viral, but in the good way. So here he is at the very beginning of his ministry. He has this huge following. And I just imagine it being like the first weekend of Dark County Fair. Such a large crowd that you can't even move. You just kind of follow whoever is in front of you. And I'm picturing this crowd, the noise, you can almost smell the people, but you can feel the electricity too, just running through. Murmurings and shoutings, jostling to get a closer look, maybe even touch this man who is transforming lives. And I wonder what Simon and Andrew and James and John were thinking, feeling right at that moment. Were they feeling anxious, afraid, overwhelmed at their choice to follow this modern-day Moses? Was it the right one? Should they go back to fishing? Or were they confident in the knowledge of what they had signed up for? And were they ready to put the work in, to transform their faith community, to bring about a renewal, revival, and renovation of that community? But we don't know those details. Matthew doesn't give us those. What we have is that when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountainside and sat down. And he began to speak. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are the humble. Blessed are those who are craving justice. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the clean-hearted. Blessed are those making peace. Blessed are those who are persecuted for justice' sake. And blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. 9 times, Jesus uses the word blessed. But what does it mean to be blessed? When this text was written at the time, blessings revealed a lot about what was going on in society. Typical blessings at the time were to be made about earthly happiness, like a beautiful spouse, gorgeous home, well-behaved children, honor, fame, etc. In today's society, that might be considered like an Instagram-worthy life. Flawless on the outside. But for Jesus, being blessed is something more than face value. The blessings he preaches are rule-breaking, society-shattering, and life-altering. He's not changing the world through political agendas or military might or even financial influence. He's turning the world upside down. What society sees as marginalized or weak or not even worthy of their time and consideration, Jesus views as valued participants in God's community and worthy of love. Are you homeless, grieving, hungry for justice, struggling with addiction, actively working for peace, insulted, persecuted, slandered against because of me? Congratulations. That makes you Jesus' kind of people. That's awesome, right? I see some heads shaking. Come on, that's right. That's great, right? Thank you. Thank you. In order to be active participants in a community like that is unlike anything else. to be a transformational community that sees each other as God sees us, as God's own children, Jesus' siblings. And this takes a lot of effort on our parts. We can't simply sit here doing the same thing day in and day out. Well, we've always done it this way. Let's just keep on keeping on. We've got to change sometimes, and change can be painful. It's called evolution. You evolve in order to be better and do better. We're here today because we're craving something transformational in our lives, aren't we? Sometimes we may not know what God is calling us to do or be. Other times we do. But in order to be changed or to be agents of change, we need to renovate our thought process. We're trying to create a new way of doing ministry here for Oakland through our ministry team. It's a work in progress and process. It is painful for all of us involved. We ask for grace. We ask for your love. That's all. And patience, I should say. This team approach involves all of us to spread the workload out so that ministering and administrating are not placed upon the shoulders of just one person, but we are all involved. We're seeking a renewed effort and energy in our current ministry settings. Quilting group, funeral meals, Wednesday evening children and youth activities, the Monday morning story time, Grace Resurrection community meal, children's disaster services, Brethren Disaster Ministries, Michael's Home, I think Brianna's Hope, Trash Bash, deacon visitations, our clothing bank, on and on. Not to mention creating new opportunities for ministry within Gettysburg or Bradford, Greenville, Darke County, Ohio, wherever. We need energy in here. We're in a funk. We're all in a funk. We've got to get out of that. I don't know how to do it, but hopefully we can figure something out together. We're better together. And this leads us to a revived existence, a revived life, focusing our sights on who we are called to be and what we are called to do as children of God. Like we say every week, to continue the work of Jesus. Come on, say it with me. To continue the work of Jesus, love God, love people, celebrate life, and pass it around. Do we truly take these words to heart? If we do, then we are truly blessed. We are changed. We are transformed. And we become so much more than what meets the eye. So, on that note,